Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, brought to you by TournamentPokerEdge.com, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to poker tournament strategy. Now here's your host, Clayton Fletcher.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. I'm your host, Clayton Fletcher, still on lockdown here in New York City. I want to thank you guys for all of the tweets and the comments and the suggestions and the love, especially for our last episode with the great Elliot Rowe, who was just such an amazing interview and really gave me a lot to think about, not only with whether I should cross the river into New Jersey and start playing online, but also just, about mindset and about trying to maintain a positive attitude towards this whole thing, which doesn't look like it's going to be ending anytime soon. So I want to thank you guys for all the interaction, and always tweet me at Clayton Comic. I read each and every one and appreciate it so much. I have another incredible guest for you this week. She's actually a second-time guest. She was on with us all the way back in December of 2018. She's a poker playing friend of mine. She's someone that I've always looked up to and respected. She's a former chess champion, the founder of USA Chess. She's also a sponsored pro on Party Poker US and Borgata Poker. Please welcome back to the podcast my friend Katie Stone.
Hi, Clayton. How are you? Thank you for having me back again.
It's so good to hear your voice. How's everything going?
Everything is okay. We are also on lockdown, self-quarantine, and we've been here going on a month. So, but, being online players, it's not really too big of a difference for us. So
you're used to being home a lot.
We are used to being home. And, the last few months for us were kind of transient anyway, because December we were in Vegas, and then January we were back in New Jersey for the WPT at Borgata, which was just, for two parents that play, poker full time, when the WPT comes to town, it's just a very, very busy month. And it's one of our arguably, busier than like a World Series of poker month for us.
Wow.
And there's always like really good online stuff going on. And then in February we were in Houston, taking care of my mom. And so it's just been a very, very, crazy time. And then we came back, and then we just kind of hunkered down right away and got a bunch of supplies. And so we've been inside. So.
Yeah. So you are married to another, well-known poker player. You guys are kind of a power couple, aren't you?
We've just both been playing for a long time. My husband, Joe Capuccio, he's been also primarily online player for a really long time. And, we both mostly grind online. Before this, we weren't playing that much live. I had actually planned on trying to play a bit more live stuff for 2020. And it's just kind of funny how things work out. And so we'll see. Poker's always going to be there. I'm not really, I can't say that I'm discouraged, because I would just kind of feel bad about saying I'm discouraged about not being able to play live poker right now with what's going on. It just feels a little bit weird. I'm just thankful that we are all, safe for now and healthy for now, and hopefully we'll continue to be that way, so.
Yeah, and I wish the same for everyone who's listening. Like, I know a lot of us are upset that we can't go out and play live poker, and, obviously there's a very serious doubt as to whether the World Series of Poker will even happen this summer. But, obviously the most important thing for all of us is your health and the health of those that you love. So, I think my conversation, I don't know if you had a chance to hear it. I'm sure you're too busy, Katie, but we talked with Elliot Rowe last week, and he really put a lot of things into perspective for me, and I think for a lot of our listeners, just trying to see the bright side and maintain a positive attitude and try to look every kind of setback, if you will, as an opportunity. And so that kind of leads me to my next question. How has the coronavirus presented an opportunity for online poker players in New Jersey?
Well, everybody's home. So online, I mean, yeah, online poker numbers have been huge to say the least. You know, even though Party Poker and Borgata and MGM are just in New Jersey, and then Poker Stars and J is just New Jersey, and then WSOP is Nevada and New Jersey. Even still though, man, it's just been kind of crazy. Like WSOP just it is like they finish one series and then like 16 hours later they like announce another surprise series, and then like that series ends, and then like, you know, a few hours after that one ends and it's like, oh, but you know, surprise, surprise, here's another series, you know, and like we're like on our third series right now, just like back to back to back series, and Stars has a series coming up too, and then Party Poker has a series coming up. So April is just going to be, you know, just nonstop, where all three sites are running series at the same time. And that's because the numbers warrant, you know, everything is crushing the guarantees. Everything is getting, like the normal nightly stuff is getting between 2 and 3x times the normal, registrants and reentries, et cetera. Some of the sites have kind of amped up the schedules. Some of the sites have just increased the guarantees. Everybody's made changes, though. All three of the sites have made changes to their schedules and have added to the schedules
To
based
try to
on
meet the demand.
the demand. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I heard you correctly, you're saying that the number of people playing in these tournaments has increased by 200 or 300%.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of these screen names are new screen names too. So it's people that either, know how to play poker and they just hadn't played before because they were, you know, too busy and just didn't have the time. Or it's, you know, like just completely new people that are just kind of bored and they're kind of looking at it as maybe a little bit similar to, you know, like roulette or slots. And, you know, and based on some of the hand histories that we've been encountering these days, I think that theory is pretty solid because you see lots of 100 big blind call offs with hands like Queen Six of Hearts and stuff. So
Wow.
you know,
Wow.
it's fun. It's
Yeah.
been fun.
Well,
But
that
it's
definitely.
also increasing, you know, the variance as well quite a bit.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That does support the theory that Elliot Rowe put forth last week when he
Oh, okay.
suggested to me I should get to New Jersey by any means necessary, even if I have to swim right across the Hudson River, which I mentioned I can see from my living room. So that's how close to New Jersey I am. I can see New Jersey out my window. And I'm jealous of you and everyone else who's over there playing in these juicy games when I'm stuck in New York City. I do have to stay here for a little while longer, though, just because of, the quarantine. I want to try to, do the right thing for everybody. Even though I'm dying to get over there, I'm going to wait until I have, 3 or 4 weeks with no symptoms. And I do have a cousin that lives across the river, so I'll probably be crashing in his place in the month of April.
If you can get down here for April, you'll have a good time because there's so much going on. And it's nice too, not to tout, party or whatever, but all the three sites have been very receptive to what's been going on. And so they've been listening to what the players want, and the players have really been asking for more and more and more, and everyone is listening. And so, that's kind of cool that's able to happen, and the turnaround is pretty fast.
Great. Yeah. So I guess they're going to have more for the foreseeable future. So let me ask you this. I wanted to get into something because, as I follow you on Twitter at Katie Stone Poker, and you started a pretty interesting discussion about GPI. One thing that you said, and I want to know why you feel this way, poker needs GPI to survive. Why is that? Why is the Global Poker Index so important, and why do we need it to survive, even though it's going to be hard to do without live poker?
Well, I think that, we don't have the luxury in poker of tons of outside companies or brands or services or personalities, that come to us and embrace poker and, want to be a part of it to help it grow or help it, expand or whatever, help promote it. So a lot of, what is born from that effort comes from, internally, inside the poker industry. And, sometimes those efforts can have trouble succeeding because they are an internal effort and it's tough to get outward acceptance, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. So, we have to be kind of like really grateful, I think, in poker, especially in times like these, for these types of efforts within poker, because the GPI exists. They've existed for a while, but it's a huge service to poker. I mean, just like these other sites, like Pocket Fives is a huge service to poker. The World Poker Tour, huge service to poker. Like, poker needs these kinds of organizations to promote the game to a worldwide international audience, and something that can appeal to all the different kinds of audiences. So like the really good players, and then the serious amateurs, and then the players that are just beginning, and the players that have no idea about poker. And so I just think that, we just have to be very mindful of how everyone is going to survive and how everybody can kind of work together to ensure that everybody survives, because we really do need everyone to survive and continue to grow. And I think that what the GPI is doing for poker is fantastic. I think that what the World Poker Tour is doing for poker is fantastic. I think that what Pocket Fives is doing for poker is fantastic. 2+2 obviously has always been there and done wonderful things for poker. And I just think it's important that we continue to support and encourage these organizations. And so that is why I offered the idea to, possibly during this lull in live poker, to possibly start incorporating online results into the GPI rankings.
Why do you think there's pushback from some players? Maybe they want to stay anonymous, or they don't want to have their results published. I know that in the case of Pocket Fives, there was a tendency for players to opt out of being included on the Pocket Fives database. Like, they wanted to make all the money, but they kind of didn't want it to be there in black and white. Are they trying to avoid paying taxes, or what's going on there?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I think that everything you've said is right. A lot of players do want to remain anonymous. However, and there are definitely, tax issues and other, economic issues surrounding, online gaming, online gambling, whatever. But the thing is that, like anonymity is fine. If you don't want to opt in, don't opt in. Like, I understand that players have to opt in on Pocket Fives, and a lot of players don't opt in on Pocket Fives. I don't see the problem with giving them the choice to opt in. So if GPI were to be able to give players the choice to opt into an online ranking, then the argument is, well, it's not an accurate ranking because not everybody is opting in. Well, it's extremely inaccurate now. So this is only helping it become less inaccurate, by providing more information. So, like, the pushback to me is a little bit kind of on the small scale of the greater good, which is if you're able to, not just, incorporate online rankings, but, if you're able, or results into the rankings, but if you're able to create additional forms of rankings. So maybe, create something that is, by field size or by buy-in range, and create different lists for these kinds of things. And that way you are kind of opening up, kind of the ability for people to set goals, people who wouldn't otherwise be in the running for anything like that. But now you're giving, a whole different group of people that are only able to play, let's say, buy-ins up to $600 or something, or people who are only able to play buy-ins up to $1,000 or $1,100. You're giving these people something to really strive for. And I think that that's really good for poker. And I think that GPI is the kind of organization that could do something like that. And by doing that, you are also just introducing poker to a whole different, new group of poker players as well. And like, how is that bad? How could that be bad if the poker industry is exposed to a bunch of new faces and new personalities that poker will continually need if we want it to continue to grow?
Well, I don't really see a downside to any of it, but then again, I have to remember that I'm speaking as an entertainment professional. I'm a comedian, so I've never wanted anonymity. It's not really conducive to my career. So I think anything that gets our names out there and that creates stars or people that other people want to watch, in the way that Twitch does. I think it would be great though if GPI or World Series of Poker Player of the Year or any of these kind of ranking systems would also include how much the players spent. And nobody wants that. I understand why they don't want that, but it would be great to just be based more on ROI rather than how many cashes. Because if I spent $10 million to get $5 million in cashes and I win the GPI,
Yeah,
but I understand why players don't want that to be included because nobody wants to be that honest about, and it would be bad news for the game because we'd realize how many of our superheroes are actually losing. But it would be more fair if they had like an actual ROI rather than that. But also, I think there should be a prize. Like what's the big deal? You win the GPI one year. There should be, I don't know, a trophy or I don't know, a Toyota, whatever.
Yeah, and that's kind of also the point. Like, it's not really about trying to find like new like superstars or whatever. It's just about finding new people that are just like normal people who are able to work a regular job or have a traditional career or whatever and still shoot for something like this. So it's just enabling these people to do that. And I think that something like that would just be extremely valuable for everybody.
Agreed. So I wanted to follow up. It's been a long time, but the last time you were on the podcast, we talked a little bit about the big blind ante, which, if you remember, was kind of new back then. And we got into a discussion about how you felt at the time that they should reduce the size of the big blind ante, either when players get into the money or at least at the final table when tables become shorter and shorter. I wanted to just follow up on that. Do you still feel that way? And are you seeing any of that happening either online or live?
I don't feel that way anymore. And here's why. I've learned more about the overall structure. I talked to more people about the structure, and I realized that was not something that was necessary or really was even an adjustment that needed to be made. And this is part of the challenge. And this situation in particular just really kind of helped me understand how challenging it is for tournament directors to juggle every single aspect needed in getting a tournament to run. Like starting a tournament from the creation of a live poker tournament from start to finish is it's kind of ridiculous because you almost like start from like when it's going to finish, so like you start from the end and you work backwards almost. And just as I was able to understand better, I talked to Matt Savage a lot about it. I also talked to one of our other sponsored pros with Borgata, Dan Buzgon. He helped explain a lot more of this stuff to me. And so, yeah, I think that the challenge is conveying the information correctly to the players and getting everybody to understand. And that's difficult when you have people that don't play that much and then things change and then they kind of feel like a negative result from it, and then they kind of leave with a bad taste in their mouth, and then you don't know the next time they're going to come back to where they can, try to have a good time. So that's kind of the part that's tough. But no, I am not on Team Reduce anymore.
Well, that's cool that you are able to look at things critically and change your mind. Of course, if you were a politician, we would say that you're a flip-flopper and you used to feel a certain way and now you feel another way. But I think it's very normal for rational human beings to change their mind about things. But I did want to follow up with that because we did have a pretty lively discussion about it way back when. Of course, that was when the big blind ante was not the norm as it very much is today, at least in the live realm. Although you still do see quite a bit of each player antes online, and I think that's just because it's so much easier. You don't have to worry about actually physically doing it. The computer does it for you. Okay, well, I know that everybody wants to hear about some of these hands, and I know you said that you had some hands you could bring up that you've been playing online that will kind of demonstrate how the games have been changing.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of some general, you really just kind of can almost picture what you would see. So it's, and what, like I said, this has kind of just been encouraging, it's been encouraging the prize pools, and it's been encouraging the variance. I've had the swings that I've had this past March were quite substantial. And that's definitely due to the increased traffic and the increased amount of reentries, et cetera. But yeah, like I mentioned, just very often, like situations where, I mean, there was a hand yesterday or not yesterday, 2 days ago, where, I think I opened under the gun, next to act called, next to act 3-bet, and then there was a massive shove from the small blind, or there was and then I called, and it was just and the hands that end up kind of reshoving here are just not really hands that you would expect to see, and or just situations that are even just very, very basic, just calling off with just very suspect, king 4 offsuit kind of hands for, 75 plus big blinds. Even late position versus big blind, I guess the late position, he feels like he's got a king, and he just feels like he's got the world. So he's just going to go with it, man,
king's the second highest card. So.
It's valuable piece of the deck right there. So that's kind of how it's been. It's kind of buckle up and let's go. And, the 10K on Borgata is routinely a 25K now. And the tournaments on WSOP have been impressive. They've been good about adding tournaments, and they've also been good about adjusting the structure a little bit. They did some payout structure adjustments, and so that was good. So things are fun. And we just had in Borgata, we just had a big tournament online. We had a 320 250K guarantee that crushed the guarantee and got over 300K. We just had that a couple of days ago, and that was just in New Jersey. We didn't even have the luxury of having Nevada and New Jersey, so we got a 300K prize pool on a $320 tournament a few days ago. And so that kind of tells you, where things are going with online poker here.
Impressive,
very
big numbers, yeah.
Yeah, very good numbers, yeah.
Well, what I'd like to do, if you could, is maybe talk us through a little bit about how you're adjusting your strategies, if at all, based on this influx of, let's say, wilder, looser players. And then if you could speak generally about that, and then possibly, if you wouldn't mind, maybe we can actually go over the specifics of a hand that you played, incorporating those different strategies.
I mean, essentially, what's been happening, I mean, I haven't really adjusted anything that I'm doing as far as fundamentally. I'm still, if the situation warrants, I'm still putting my money in the middle. I'm not, being conservative in any way, and I'm not also going nuts either, just because these are new players with, seemingly new money that seemingly are new to the game. That's not always the case. So because there are so many new screen names, you do want to make sure that you try to keep track of who everybody is. I actually just had a lady. I started a Discord chat for like the poker people in the who've been laid off and are looking for work and stuff, and so a lot of people have been joining from around the world and just kind of like posting like random like jobs that they hear of or gigs that and so a couple of poker players have actually chimed in and offered some just like some office work and stuff, and so I did the same. I had I posted I had a job, just a day job for entering data for the because the World Series of Poker, they list the names of the people who cash in all of their circuit events on the website, and then they keep the lobbies up in the client for like a few weeks, but then they go away, and that's the only chance you have to cross-reference those names to see who the real players are, with the screen names. And so I had somebody, she spent I think she's like 9.5 hours doing just this most recent circuit, but it was worth it for me because it's like, I need to know who all of these new screen names are. It's just like an influx of names, and it's kind of important, especially when if the person that you're playing against, it's a new name, and then you look on your G sheet and you're like, oh, it's a good thing I know who that person is. So yeah, that's one thing that I've done to adjust is as I hired a lady, and then and there's another series coming up too. There's another couple series, so I told her I'd probably have another job for her in a couple weeks as well. So and I've also I've just been we've had to we have a 4.5-year-old son, and he's not in preschool anymore because they're closed, and so we've kind of had to really kind of not plan our day, but just understand that work needs to get done during the day, and so that requires one of us to keep him occupied downstairs.
Well, why can't he just do the research and figure out who these players are for you? Put him to work.
I started chess lessons with him, and he's picking it up alarmingly fast.
Oh, well, it's
I'm going
no
to run
surprise.
out of things to teach him pretty soon.
It's no surprise. I mean, he's obviously inherited, your brain and Joe's brain, so he's probably no dummy.
He's eager too.
Genius or not, he can't really help with this, so I can see where that would be a challenge. But you guys have to be making sure that you're getting access to these juicy games, right?
Yeah, it's tough. But what's nice though is that he's kind of settled into a nice schedule now where he doesn't nap during the day and he goes to sleep a little bit earlier. So that's been enabling us to both play, and one of us just late regs around 8:30. So it's been pretty nice that that's actually happened.
So let's hear about one of these wild roller coaster rides.
Yeah. So so this hand was from a Poker Stars tournament on Sunday, and this is just like it's just an example of I don't know, just a very substantial lack of understanding of poker, or just a pure willingness to gamble it up. I don't know, but. I open a hand about 24 big blinds effective under the gun with ace king offsuit. Next to act, who almost covers me, folds. The next to act has just under 10 big blinds and calls. It's folded around to the big blind, who has about 22 big blinds. And they shove. And so I obviously call. And so here's what's really cool. What happens? So the initial flatter folds, and the big blind shows up with 8-9 offsuit.
Okay.
So this is just a very good example of lots of really cool things going on here. Deep in a tournament on Sunday, and
wow.
Yeah, this is the kinds of things we're playing. Yeah.
Now you're obviously going to call that with ace king off, but let me ask you, what's the worst hand you would call with?
Let's see. I'm probably not folding any pairs over, yeah, it's tough. Maybe I would probably call like sixes and above. And as far as, maybe fives probably. Yeah, fives probably gets in there. And then as far as my other hands, I mean, ace jack suited plus, yeah. And yeah, ace queen off, ace king off, yeah.
You throwing away king queen then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. 20 big blind, 22 big blinds. I mean, especially with the fact that the call of my open should be very scary on a sub 10 big blind stack. So like, even though I have that stack covered and the big blind has that stack covered, that stack should still contain some amount of like decent size amount of equity, right? Like in the current hand that's about to take place, you know? So like, we do have to think about what that flatting range is. However, you know, when this shove, you know, happens, you're just, you know, you're not folding ace king, obviously. So
now, while you're playing, do you take lots of notes on your opponents? Like, would you make a note? Oh yeah, this is the guy who put in 22 bigs with 9-8 in that other tournament. Do you have time to do that, or are you playing so many tables that you don't have time to take notes on everybody?
I absolutely take notes. I don't play as many tables. I try to keep it to about 6 tables. I used to play a lot more tables when I was younger and dumber, but I definitely keep my tables to like 6 or 7 at the max. Also, the tournaments I'm playing are a lot higher. You know, they are all, you know, a lot higher buy-ins than I used to play too. So each table is just going to be a lot more important. You know, there's one table's a 1K, another table's a 500, there's a 250, there's a couple $100 tournaments, there's a couple 50 rebuys in there, you know, so it's kind of like you do have to pay attention. And you know, the, you know, $20 tournaments or the $50 tournaments with, you know, smaller guarantees, or even the $100 tournaments with the smaller guarantees, especially on a Sunday, I generally just kind of only add them in if I have space, you know, like meaning if I busted anything and I have room on my monitor for something, I'll fill it in, but I'm not pre-regging them. I'm always late regging them, and I'm only regging them if I absolutely have to. So.
Right. Okay, cool. So you're keeping notes on your opponents. And now this is important because I think that a mistake that a lot of players make is they'll realize that their opponents are playing this wild, loose, aggressive, shove with any two connected cards, you know, kind of style. And then they'll open up their range so much that they actually end up over adjusting. So you don't really want to bend too much. I mean, you of course you want to be a much looser calling. If you know this guy's capable of doing this with 9-8, then yeah, you want to open up your range. Like you say, you're happy to call with 5s plus and then ace jack. Okay, that's great. But you don't want to go all the way down to like king 10, because then you're basically just gambling with a gambler.
Yeah, like I don't have any info on this person. This is obviously a new screen name. I don't play on PokerStars New Jersey that much, just because there isn't that much going. But like all the other sites, they've added a bunch of stuff too, so I've been playing more on there. But yeah, like I don't know this name. I've never seen it before, and so I kind of like, you know, I would just assign a range in my head as to what I would assume this shoving range would look like. Would that shoving range include 8-9 off? No, it would not include 8-9 off. However, this is the online poker climate right now. New Jersey.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty exciting stuff. It's almost like another boom.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that this is what it took for it to happen, but you know, there's been a lot of people on Twitter that have been pretty vocal about pushing for online poker legislation, and you know, at least for the, you know, getting the states, you know, merged fully, you know, so that all 3 sites can be with Nevada, New Jersey, and even Delaware. You know, I don't know if anything like that would even be able to happen. You know, I'm a sponsored pro with Party Poker US, but I'm not like exactly privy to, all of like the legislative like details and efforts and stuff like that. That's all very, very much, completely different worlds. So, and I'm sure there's just so much too that people don't even understand that goes on. I do know it's a very complicated process, and it's not as swift as everyone would prefer it to be, but, they are aware that this is what everybody wants, and I'm hoping that they just listen and get it done,
Well, it just, I have very little faith in the government's ability to do anything swiftly. So,
Yeah.
so I just remember when Black Friday happened and there were people saying, well, don't worry, we'll be back up on Party Poker and Poker Stars. And by the end of the year, people thought that back then, and it still hasn't happened, at least not on a national basis.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I guess stranger things have happened, but I would not bet on all of us getting online poker by the time this virus is gone.
Yeah, I mean, and but that's okay. I mean, there's still a lot of things that people can do, poker wise. I mean, there's still lots of ways, like if you have time to if you don't have an option to play. I mean, there's unregulated poker, which I cannot recommend simply because it's unregulated. And there's just a lot of uncertainty with that. I definitely would just be very careful for anybody who decides to put any money on any sites, and that, same thing with the apps and everything. It's all very emerging market kind of thing. And,
Sure.
And I would just be really, really careful with who you give your money to, which is why it's just generally always a good thing to stick with regulated sites. But even like I know the World Poker Tour, they have a free site. Well, it's not free. I think you pay like $20 a month for it, but it's free poker, but it's for prizes and like seats into World Poker Tour events and so forth. So that is, and I think they also have training too. Like that's an option for people who are looking for a safe way to play poker and to learn poker. I would highly, highly recommend that. And then also like, just like training sites, and just hop on YouTube. There's a ton of free content out there that is really great to kill the time. You might as well, like if you're home and you're not working and you're bored, or you are looking for something to do, or you're looking for something new to do, it's a great time to work on your poker game. And whether you watch streams or you watch videos or whatever.
And of course, my favorite site, tournamentpokeredge.com. So everybody can obviously get involved and improve your game, even if you're not fortunate enough to be in one of those 3 special states where they actually allow online poker to be regulated, and you can be sure that it's a fair game. Katie, anything else you want our listeners to know, or anything else you want to say?
No, I mean, I just hope that everybody kind of just stays where they are and stays home and continues to just, be safe and not go out if they don't have to, and try to play as much online poker as they can.
Yeah, especially if you're in New Jersey and you have 9-8, feel free to put in your 22 big blind stack and hope for the best.
Yeah. all those small pairs, they all do really fantastically 3 ways, 4 ways, all in 3. Also, they do fantastic. So no problem whatsoever with getting those in those invaluable spots.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that you will continue to manage the variants as well as you can, and basically enjoy the ride, because this might not happen again for a long time.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I am hoping though that like some positive things will come out of this too. I'm hoping that like the changes and just the traffic, it's kind of showing other states kind of what it potentially could be, and what the numbers possibly could be with if you allowed more states to merge, and you put a good schedule together, and you have some good series, and you have some good deposit bonuses, and you get good structures, you can really build on something like that. So I'm hoping if there's any kind of silver lining out of this, that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great note to leave it on. Everybody follow Katie on Twitter at Katie Stone Poker. And Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really great talking to you again.
Thank you so much, Clayton. I appreciate it. Stay safe in New York, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. So for Katie Stone and for everyone here at Tournament Poker Edge, I'm Clayton Fletcher. Thank you all so much for listening.
I wanna hold them like they do in Texas Plays. Fold them, let them hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. Luck and intuition, play the cards with babes to start. And after she's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on her heart. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Can't read mine, no she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Can't read mine, no she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker face. Poker face, poker face. I wanna roll with her, a hard pair we will be. While little gambling is fun when you're with me. I love it. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. And baby, when it's love, it's not rough, it isn't fun. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Can't read mine, no she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Can't read mine, no she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker face. Poker face, poker face. Can't read mine, no she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Can't read mine,